Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet, for the internet, because of the internet, and you guys. Well, mostly me, but thank you for listening and watching, so thank you for being out there. But without further ado, we got to plug the title sponsor of the podcast, Go Fast, Don't Suck. They are the fastest, least suckiest business in the shooting sports because they're Go Fast, Don't Suck. At the time of this recording, I just found out that Bill got his private pilot's license, so watch out in the air now. You had to worry about him driving on the road. Now you have to worry about him driving in the air. It's Bill Duda. But yeah, go check him out. Go get some match jerseys if you want them. If you're a match, go buy some banners from them. They've got awesome new mesh banner material that I personally love. They're fantastic and affordable. So go check them out. Dry fire targets, like I said before, as well. So check them out. GoFastDon'tSuck.net. Tell them Manny sent you in the notes for your order. But we'll move on with your day. Without further ado, we're sitting down with my friend that I met at Kentucky State, Sam Knapp. Sam, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. Excited to be here.
I am glad you are on. We're going to have a good, fun time, and I think everyone else is going to enjoy this as well. So if they don't, they have a problem with their sense of humor and their life choices. But Sam, for people who probably don't know you, who are you and how did you get into shooting?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird start for me. I think it matches up a lot with people's backgrounds here recently, and that was the COVID scare. I
Mm-hmm.
got everybody buying guns and starting to train. I guess guns in general. I started on growing up. My family has got like a weird relationship with shooting in that it kind of skipped a generation. My grandfather was like a grandmaster bullseye pistol shooter, owned a gun company with some patents on parts for Hammerly pistols, and then kind of skipped over my dad a little bit. And when COVID hit and all of the riots and kind of just different weird things going on in the major cities, it kind of just drove me to start carrying. And when I started carrying, I wanted to get proficient, and I kind of got a little tired of just burning ammo at an indoor range in a lane. So found a local IDPA club. Uh, didn't understand that local IDPA club hosted matches more than one time a quarter. So they were twice a month, but like nobody told me. So I'm pretty sure it took me like 6 months to actually shoot more than like 4 IDPA matches. After kind of shooting IDPA at first, that I kind of got introduced to USPSA, and I like to say it kind of went downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm a hobby jumper, so I jump hobbies quite a bit, and unfortunately, shooting was one of those that stuck, and it's been definitely my most expensive hobby that I've had. So, really dove in heads first. Got into my first majors. I've been shooting USPSA now just under 2 years.
Okay.
So about a couple IDPA matches, about 2 years into USPSA. I think I just shot my 200th match on Saturday, actually.
You still plugged in a bunch of matches then, so you probably were shooting what, every other weekend then?
At first, it was probably pretty sporadic, and in a couple times a month. I started at an indoor club,
Mm-hmm.
so I shot a couple of those every single month. And actually, I think my first outdoor match was Bill Duda's Go Fast Don't Suck match that they hosted here at Riverbend Gun Club in Atlanta. So that was like my first introduction to outdoor matches and how technical it was. I'm like, this is where the heat is. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is where the challenging stages are. And um, I went through a spell last summer that I was shooting locals, pretty much all of them within a 3-hour drive. So I would shoot Saturday, I'd shoot a match on Sunday, and we're blessed in Atlanta that we have quite a bit. So it was, a match Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of every single week.
That's a lot of matches, sir. I mean, most people wish they could shoot that kind of frequency,
It was
but
more
it's
expensive than dry fire, unfortunately.
yeah, that's usually the case, right? So you're talking, but even you just said Riverbend Gun Club, all right? So you got Casey in your back door. You've got Jesse Harrison. I don't know. I don't know if she actually got a name change or not yet, so I'm just gonna keep calling her by her last known name until I hear otherwise. But and then what? Jason Clark, and then what? Andreas Yankopoulos is around there too. What? Isn't Tyler Turner down there too?
Tyler Turner, he helps a lot out at that match.
Hmm. But you're actually if I'm not mistaken, a match director yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I run an indoor match at Johns Creek Indoor Gun Range. We're a bi-monthly club.
Yep. So that's kind of cool. We'll definitely talk about you as a match director in a little bit. But so you said you started in IDPA, ESP or SSP? Did you start in?
I started in carry optics. I went straight in for a dot.
Okay.
I wasn't going to screw around with irons.
So what'd you start in carry optics with?
HK VP9.
Ooh, some bougie like we suck. Well, no, what's their phrase? You suck and we hate you or something like that. I can't remember what HK's slogan is nowadays.
I didn't shoot it for very long. It was I don't know who told me this, and I don't know if rules changed, but I had a Canic Elite Combat with a threaded barrel on it. And somebody told me that threaded barrels weren't allowed in like any of the shooting sports. That for whatever reason you couldn't have one. So I went and got an HK VP9 purely for matches.
Gotcha. Now, did you put what would you put like an SRO on it or like a hollow sun?
Hollow Sun. Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't fully dive into the SRO gang yet. Now it's unfortunate that I really don't have a taste for anything else. But back then I put Hollow Suns on most things.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, shit, you couldn't beat it at that price. I mean, they were like maybe $300 at most when they came out. So then, how long were you shooting that? So you said you weren't shooting the VP9 very long. How long did it take you to get away from that?
So if I had the VP9, I would say that, it's a little weird when I bought it. I don't really remember the exact time that I bought it, but it may have been 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I started USPSA November of 21, and I swapped over at that time. I swapped over to the X5 Legion. I believe it was like January, December
Oh,
or January. So it was pretty soon after switching from IDPA to USPSA that I jumped up to the X5.
okay. And you've been liking the SIG ever since?
It was a great gun. I switched again.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right. You did switch to the Full Metal CZ, right?
yeah, so I'm shooting Shadow twos. I swapped the Shadow twos at the beginning of this year. So
Mm-hmm.
I was about a year on the X5s, and then sold one, kept one, and moved into Shadow twos in January.
You know what gun would have made weight super easy in IDPA?
What?
Probably a Legion. I don't know.
It does. I think you may have to change out the guide rod too, but it's like right there on the line for IDPA.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just got to give you crap about that now from now on. Just
Yeah, I
find
was
random
stressing,
guns
man.
out.
I found out that I wasn't going to make weight for that IDPA match. I think it was like 4 days in advance, 5 days in advance. So I had to find a way to trim it out real quick.
Hmm. Yeah, that definitely is a nerve wracking thing, especially when you're handing your gun over to the equipment check people.
I had my cell phone out to take a picture of the scale.
Oh, there you go.
I knew it was going to be close. I was either going to catch a heartbreaking moment or a moment of success.
And the real trick is when you get equipment checked. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to pass. I'm just going to go home after two stages, right?
Yeah, and they IDPA is weird. There's no open class to bump you up to.
Hmm.
So I've only shot 2 matches this year before I shot their state match, and um, I didn't really expect to have an issue until I figured out that I didn't make weight. But you don't make weight at a USPSA. They just bump you up to open. You get to keep shooting. IDPA, you get sent home.
Yeah, yeah, that's unfortunate. But they should have a category for no score, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it may kind of go up to the match director if I'm not mistaken, but their go to is I think to send you home.
Right. Well, and that's interesting enough too, is like the fact that there, like in USPSA, we have a range master who deals with all the problems on the range match day. But in IDPA, the match director is end all be all. They get to make all the decisions.
Yeah, and depending on your ROs, maybe you have some, or I guess SOs.
Hmm.
You have a hard time getting to the match directors sometimes. A lot of them like to be little mini match directors on all the different stages.
Hmm. Right. That's always a pain in the butt. So you've been shooting, now you're shooting your Shadow 2s. How many majors do you think you've shot nowadays?
Um, Majors in total, maybe 10 to 15, somewhere in there. Um, I got into them pretty soon. I was told, there's a lot of heat in Atlanta. I'm really been thankful for it. A lot of people to kind of push you forward, a lot of rabbits to chase. But one thing they all kind of echoed was go shoot a major match. Like that's how you actually tell how you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets lucky at a local, right? Everybody, in B class can win a local if they're at the right one.
Right.
Uh,
If it's Carry Optics Nationals weekend and nobody's there, right? Hmm.
right. So I was always told to go shoot it. So I think Area 6 of 2022, which was, I don't know, probably 5 months into the sport, was my first major that I shot.
Okay. Did you just shoot it or did you end up working it?
Just shot it. I think I didn't start staffing matches until South Carolina of 2022. So I didn't staff South Carolina this year, but last year I did. I wasn't an RO at the time, so I finally found a match that did staff reset where, I called them sticker bitches. I finally got to go get sticker bitch and go paste some targets and shoot a match for free. So I was excited.
Right. Did how do you have a paster gun at all?
I do now. Back then it was using the old mittens, man.
No, see, that's where people make the first mistake is you always got to have a paster gun. I mean, it's just kind of how it is.
You see,
Ever,
so I got one,
hmm.
but I actually only bring it to my personal practices. I don't bring it to matches. If I'm staffing, I'll bring it, just in case the match doesn't provide it, but I don't bring it to locals. I just would rather pace with my hands. I don't want another thing to keep up with in between bays. I don't want somebody to take it, break it. It just stays in my practice bag.
Oh, fair enough. I take that thing, everything. It's like it's attached to the side of my cart. It's glorious. I just pick it up. I mean, but here's the trick: you never really have to you never have to pace if you're really just holding the timer all day.
That's fair. And if you really want to look like you're working, you
Hmm.
hold the timer with just a couple pasters in the other hand.
Yeah, exactly.
The same strip of pasters all day, but people
Or
look like they're working really hard.
and you just tape. You could even just tape them to the timer and just look really fancy.
That's it, man.
Yeah, but yeah. So I don't know. I like staffing. What do you think about staffing a match? Do you enjoy it, or do you just kind of do it out of necessity?
I enjoy it. Sometimes it's out of necessity. Sometimes it's like I really want to shoot that match, but like I'm maxed out on major match funding right now. But a lot of the times, I'm pretty picky at which ones I staff.
Hmm.
I've been grateful over the last several years of like my professional career that I've had unlimited PTO or untracked PTO. So it cost me nothing to, you know, leave a day extra, or come back, a day late because I'm staffing a match. So I'm really picky because I do look at their compensation package and that's what I base it off of. There's a couple matches that unfortunately it's just not a good bang for the buck because they're far enough from me that I got to buy a hotel anyway. And down in Area 6, even though we have a lot of ROs and a lot of staff because we're doing a lot of staff reset matches, a lot of times hotels are not paid for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting because that's completely different than up here, which is really weird. Like in the Midwest, it's like, okay, if you want a room by yourself, you're paying half the room rate, whatever half the match's rate is. So like if the hotel is like 110 a night and you're by yourself, it's what, $55, But the trick is you bring someone else with you and then you'd never have to pay for the match fee, the hotel.
I got lucky at Kentucky, and that was one of the first matches I had worked where it was set up like you were talking about, where they cover the hotel.
Hmm.
I had a roommate that they put me up with, and he was a local guy. I think he lived less than an hour from the range, so he went home every night. I never met him. So I ended up paying nothing but got a room to myself just because the guy never showed up.
Oh, well, that's fair enough. Like that's it's maybe he probably was like, oh, maybe I'll get a hotel room. Then he probably just said screw it, and he's just gonna go home.
I think he maybe underestimated like how soon we were getting done. Like I think if you recall, like we finished days early at Kentucky this year. Like just
Mm.
the flow of the match, we were ahead of the matrix pretty much the whole time. So I think he maybe thought that he'd be there till 7 o'clock and would rather go to a hotel than all the way home.
Yeah.
And then when we
Well,
got out early, he just hit the head. I don't know.
well, the worst part I think of Kentucky was the fact that it was like 4 miles from the range to the hotel, but it took you 20 minutes to get there.
I actually like the drive. I like the homes, and especially once you get towards the peninsula of the range. But at the same time, you're right. It's like geographicically, it doesn't look very far, but in practice of going around blind corners for 2 miles, or in the case of one RO putting somebody else's car into a ditch and breaking axles, it can make for a little bit longer of a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even leave the property before that happened. So,
I would have felt awful. I would have
yeah,
felt. He got to
exactly.
shoot through and ended up doing really well for the match. So maybe I'll do that next year. I hurt my car. Can I just shoot through?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but there's also the downside of shoot throughs, right? Depending on like, you might not always like. I shot through Area 5 this year because I was helping with stats for the first part of the match. So I was like, I need to get my stages done. So we were shooting through. It doesn't. Sometimes if you might get a couple more minutes on a stage, but really you're looking at the stage for the first time, figuring out the rough plan, and be like, all right, let's go because we ain't got time for this. It's not like you're on a squad where you got a half hour, 45 minutes to dick around here.
Exactly. Or watch somebody else run it, right? Unless you're shooting through while other squads are on the stage, and you can kind of watch a couple of their plans. I think if you're shooting through, I think you're probably your biggest rusher. Like you're rushing yourself. Like you took away probably time that you needed because
Hmm.
you thought you were ready, and mine goes blank when the timer goes off.
I mean, it is a Men in Black feeling, but so you were saying, you'd have because matches weren't worth your squeeze because of they're being so far away and you got to get a hotels, and in Area 6 they don't provide a hotel for the most part. I think what actual Area 6 itself didn't Donna actually get you guys hotel rooms?
Area 6 did. So as a level 3, they did. I think we got match hotel as long as you had a roommate, and same thing. If you want one by yourself, you just pay half price. And then there was like a per day allotment, for like it was like $20 a day, I think, extra that you would get.
Hmm.
Um, all the other matches, they just do the per day. Like, hey, you shoot the match for free, and we'll pay you $200. Well, then you have to go find your own hotel. And the nice thing is you find your own hotel. So if you want to go stay at a Roach Motel and pocket some cash, you can. If unfortunately you have a Hilton addiction, you blow your wad and you're coming out of pocket for the rest of it.
Yeah, like so there was one match I shot, a charity match after Kentucky, and I was like, well, I'm getting a hotel because I lived like an hour and a half from the range, and I'm like, I'm not driving, but it's like we shot one day and then we worked one day, and that was it. I'm like, I'm just gonna get a hotel room instead of driving back and forth. But yeah, the Hilton, what was it, a Hampton Inn owned by Hilton or whatever it was. It was a nice hotel. I was like, the breakfast. Honestly, it's a good hotel when the breakfast is actually like edible.
The eggs don't feel like plastic.
Yeah. But no, that was a good hotel. Other than the view, my view of my room was trash. It looked like what I overlooked. It overlooked something that wasn't a nice view to look out of. But
Sometimes I'd rather them just not put windows in the room and just hang a painting or something. I,
yeah,
I end up getting stuck where I'm overlooking like the roof of something else.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it was. It was like a roof and a drain or something. But yeah, now are you have you finished working all the matches you're going to work this year, or do you still have some more?
I got one more Carolina Classic. They took really good care of us last year, so signed right back up to staff that one. That's one of those that I really like. Stephanie's great at organizing. It's at Rowan, so nice facility, and I believe John's MD. I don't know if this was his last Carolina Classic that he's MD at. I just started keying in on some of that information, so I probably need to look a little bit more into it. But they did a great job last year. I liked Ben Barry's twist on chrono. I liked his little equitable way of going about it. But at the same time, they just took care of us ROs. So I'll sign up and work that match as long as they keep that up for sure.
Yeah. No, and now what do you mean by Ben Barry's twist to chrono? I don't I think I've heard Ben talk about it, but it's not ringing a bell right now.
Yeah, so he did a little twist where, we didn't collect ammo on stage one. Our first squad of the day, we didn't collect ammo. There was like a short speed shoot right next to chrono. And as soon as you got done shooting the speed shoot, he'd immediately walk up, grab you off the bench, or grab you off the stage and say, "Give me that mag," and that's the
Mhm.
mag metric, right? Or hey, if it's an open shooter and he grabbed like a 150 off of him or something, he'd say, "Give me your larger mag." But they'd pull the bullets right there out of your mag, and they didn't go self-declared. They had a single stage press, I believe, with a bullet puller on it, so they were able to be pretty efficient with pulling bullets, weighing, and I don't think necessarily that we caught anybody. I'm not sure that there's very many people that are trying to really game it nowadays, but
Mhm.
um, so I don't think it caught anybody off guard. I think a lot of people were playing by the rules to begin with, but I think he was pretty outspoken about how he was doing it leading up to the match too. So if
Mhm.
there were those people that they knew that stage probably needed to have real ammo in their gun.
Right, yeah. Oh yeah, and you don't pull out the special box of ammo to make it
Yeah, it says chrono on the lid.
yeah.
Chrono
I
ammo.
mean, I don't have one of those. No, I really don't. I am one of those weirdos. I'll get my chrono baggie. I've honestly gone to making pre-made chrono bags. Like I have the label, my name on it, and everything. Just like I hate getting to like the first, but I'm also one of the weird open shooters who will preload mags like the night before, purely because I'm too lazy to do it. Like load all 6 or 7 mags I have at the first stage. So I'm like, here's a chrono bag. Leave me alone.
I preload mags. I don't preload my chrono bag. I let them do it. My favorite, I've seen pictures of him do it. I've actually not met him. We were talking about him earlier. What the guy who owns Range Panda? What's his
Oh,
name?
Eric Steiner.
Yeah, my favorite is like every major he shoots. I see on Instagram. He takes a picture and it's he puts like I think he did it Area 3 major question mark and there's like a $5 bill in the chrono bag. I
Mhm.
don't know if he turns it in that way or not, but I always get some humor out of it.
So it's funny enough because I up here I've talked to it like Paul Hernandez enough and like Jay Warden who always go to Chrono to like nationals and some of the bigger majors like the area matches. Um, but they go down and they're like, "Where's the other $95?" They're like, $5 ain't gonna do me nothing. I mean, shit, it can barely buy you a damn pop nowadays from a vending machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that is always funny. I should start putting money in my chrono bags and see if they collect it or not.
Yeah, maybe it's sleeve of primers.
No, see, that's too much. That's too much value right there. That's 100 primers. That's 100 bullets. But the chrono guys don't even shoot, so they. I mean, do you notice that most people who work chrono don't actually shoot our sport anymore?
They're just there to be a volunteer.
Other than Ben Barry, although Ben Barry's like, I'd rather sit down all weekend, so I'm gonna work chrono.
That was the first I had seen him at Chrono. I think obviously he needed to be there for him to execute the his method of doing it and the way
Mhm.
that he laid it out. That's the first I had seen him there, but I don't know what they're doing this year. I haven't seen much or heard much from them on it.
Yeah, and that's literally about from the time we're recording. That's about a month away.
Yeah. Look, I have practice score pulled up now. Yeah, right at a month. It's September 15th, I believe.
Nice. I was trying to get down there for that, but I was just like, it's too far of a drive for me to get down to North Carolina. I'm fortunate. I have a family who lives in Asheville, but it just wouldn't have been worked out either way. Like work off. Like I don't have unlimited PTO, so. But
He, he can
yeah,
bite you in the ass. I'm in sales, so at the same time, it's like I can take as much time off as I want, but as
you're not
long as
making
the
money.
sales are coming through, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yep. But my buddy Corey, he kind of works on the flip side of that. If like I said, if he doesn't work a day, he's not trying to make. He doesn't make money. But let's see. I did have some listener questions I did want to run through. It's funny because some of these are like exactly the same from different people. So, but somebody had to ask, other than yourself, how are you so handsome?
Somebody else asked that.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. Just genetics, man. Just genetics.
What do you do to your hair? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to tell me what you do to your hair.
This is hat hair.
That's hat hair. That's pretty good hat hair. If I
I'm
took,
very lazy.
my hat hides a lot of no hair.
It's
So
really it just stays where it's at
yeah,
for the most part. So if I wake up and it doesn't look like this, that's just what it's going to look like for the day because I can't really do much with it.
fair enough. Now somebody did ask, why do you hate vegetables?
Why do I hate vegetables? I just don't think they hold much value. I think all you need to survive is meat, cheese, and bread, and any mixture. Pizza, sandwiches, hamburgers, meat, cheese, bread. Man, I
Meat, cheese,
think it's
bread.
it's tasteless. Doesn't add much value.
Yeah, you missed out because well, when we were down in Kentucky, where did you end up going to eat?
We went. I think we went to a Mexican restaurant. One of the nights, it was all right, and then obviously we had the staff dinner.
Which that was pretty legit. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good food.
Uh-huh. And then we went to like a steakhouse. I think it was like it's kind of nice, but I don't really remember the name of it. I think it was like a local chain. What we don't have them down here, but it was all right. I think I went to the steakhouse and ordered pizza though.
I mean, that's not wrong. I went to a place called Drake's one night and I ordered sushi. So it's like a what do they call, I think they call it Applebee's with sushi. Now I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen the TikTok or the Instagram reel where they say Applebee's, and then they'll show a picture of like Red Lobster, Under the Seas Applebee's. I just feel like this is like sushi Applebee's.
I don't know. Sushi sounds high class, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, sushi depends. You can get sushi at a gas station, so there's
That's
different grades.
fair. That's fair. I was gonna say, tell us you shoot open without telling us you shoot open.
Do you want to see my ramen noodle collection?
That's another way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think Eric Steiner was able to afford as many infinities as he has?
What's the guy got? Like 4 or 5, something like that?
I think it's 5 now. He'll tell me that I'm wrong, but it's either 4 or 5. The red one, the bronze one, Thunder God. Yeah, it's probably 4. I'm gonna bet it's 4.
We got a local guy here, and I don't know how public he is. I won't mention his name, but from my understanding,
Mm-hmm.
he has 23 Infinity guns. 23. He's got a safe dedicated to him, and word on the street is when they have a customer cancel or somebody back out on an order, he's one of the first people they call to see if he wants it.
Now, do you know, are they all open guns or they mix like open, limited guns, slide rides?
I think they're mixed. I think he's probably got one of every kind of base that they got. Open, limited, slide ride. I'm sure he's got a mixture. I've unfortunately never been able to take a look in his safe, but it's on my bucket list. It's on my vision board.
I bet at this point, Brandon at Infinity has bought him a safe. Here, it's like you're gonna buy these anyway. Here, have $1,000 safe, right?
I may have heard that there's a rotisserie on the inside that spins and music plays.
I mean, to speak of rotisseries, I do know what Casey, whatever his brand of safe is, that actually has like a carousel inside. So like if it's all pistols, you can easily get to all of them.
Oh, that's slick.
I mean, that's bougie money right there, though. But yeah,
I don't have a real gun safe. I didn't want to buy one. I've been in apartments for so long that like I don't want to buy one and move it.
mm-hmm.
So because of that, I got a 1980s Coke machine, Cavalier Coke machine, and I converted it actually into a gun safe.
That's pretty legit.
It's got a Secure-It gun wall conversion on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
but I max out at like 10 rifles, and 15 handguns, so I'm gonna run out of space. But it looks cool, and I used to have it in my living room because I didn't have a space for it. So what was nice is I could have a gun safe really in my living room, and nobody really knew when I entertained it.
That's pretty legit. Not gonna lie. So, so we've talked about Kentucky a couple times, which I guess is Was this your first time winning A class at a major match?
Second. So I won A class at South Carolina back in March or April, whenever it was this
Mhm.
year. Then I won Kentucky's A class. Yeah. So that was
Mhm.
my second A class win.
Okay. And you actually beat a fair amount of masters. Yes, yeah, you beat plenty of masters, like 5 of them to be exact.
Yeah,
So
I thought I placed pretty well. I think percentage wise, I wasn't like too happy with it, but just based on the talent that was there, winning A class, still super proud of that, but
mhm.
definitely room to grow.
Right. Well, and that match was difficult because there were so many low point stages. Like stage 1 was super low, stage 3 was low, like, and that was also that's why I had a terrible match that match. Like I didn't perform very well, but it was also because I messed up on small point stages and like the 2 big stages. Well, no, there was 3 of them, and I messed up on all 3 of them. I was like, and it just kills your match.
Yeah, I don't recall like the stage finishes exactly, but one thing we kind of figured out, I've had a couple good performances locally over
Hmm.
the last week or two, and I happened to win a local, and we looked at my stage finish, and I didn't win a single stage. And I said, it's funny that that's how it planned out because, at the majors that I've shot recently, I've not had an exceptional stage where it
Right.
was like, I murdered it. It was just that I never had a bad one. Like I just had okay performances and good performances, and luckily just kind of held it across, the 10 stages that were at the match.
Hmm. Yeah. And that match was definitely it was a technical match, I'd say, but it had options.
Yeah, yeah. I thought the stage breakdown and the stage variety was there. I really enjoyed that. And then carry optics, we did shoot carry optics nationals, and I was not prepared for those stages. And unfortunately, they were all pretty much the same.
Right. Well, and then because you shot one weekend and then the next, like it was Kentucky and the Nationals, like there was no break.
Yeah, it was back to back. Kentucky was one of those that, it was on my list to shoot. And then, I never got registered for it and really wanted to warm up for CO Nationals. So that was kind of an example of a match that I staffed kind of out of necessity. It's like I didn't care to, add 6 hours of travel expense, a weekend of travel expense, the weekend right before I'm going to spend 5 days in Ohio.
Hmm.
So I
It
was like,
would,
I sent an email. I'm like, hey, y'all still need staff? They said yes, and signed up and came up and shot it that way.
yeah. You gonna think about shooting it, staffing it again in 24?
I'll definitely shoot it. We'll probably just have to look what 24's match breakdown looks to see if I'll staff it or not.
Hmm.
I thought it was a really good, going back to value. I thought it was a good bang for the buck for staff because for me it's 6 hours to 7 hours, depending on if you're stopping
Hmm.
to get up there. So like I'm already gonna get 2 nights in a hotel room.
Hmm.
So if I can, staying one extra night's not a big deal, and you're getting all 3 nights covered as staff. So that turns into like how my brain works. Same thing with Carolina Classic. Carolina's 4 hours for me. So, if I'm shooting the PM shift, maybe it's one night stay in a hotel room, but typically it's two. So might as well make it three and let them pay for it.
Right. Yeah. No, and same for me. It's a 6 hour. It's literally a flat from my door to the range is 6 hours, no stops. So it's definitely a haul. That's for sure.
Which match is 6 hours from you?
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky is.
But see, I go southbound. You go northbound.
Yeah, I think we have to take like three different interstates from
I'm
Atlanta. Depending on what part of Atlanta I'm in, it's like 3 or 4 different interstates to actually get over there.
I think it's 3 for me. It's 3 different interstates for me to get down there, which isn't terrible because it's straight down, straight over, straight down. Although going down 75 is horrible. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as you hit
70,
Cincinnati's horrible.
yeah, 75 is nasty for sure everywhere.
Hmm. So Sam, what are some of your current goals in shooting?
Yeah, I'm really wanting to ride out carry optics for a little longer. Open's always been on my mind. I've always wanted to shoot open. I'm still undecided, but I have a pretty good idea of what platform I'm going to go forward with when I eventually make the jump. But I have an idea of where I want to go for a jump, but I plan on just riding, carry optics out for a lot longer. I got at least one more major to shoot in A class. I don't imagine getting an M bump before Carolina. Anything can happen. Matter of fact, we are hosting an all classifier match at my club this weekend that this is being filmed. So anything can happen, but want to see if I can't win another A class or win another major in A class. But I'd like to make that M jump, hopefully by the end of the year. I'd like to go into 2024 in M class and carry optics, and that'd probably make me feel a little bit better about dabbling in open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, then you just jump right into A class open division, and then it's spicy.
Yeah, I think the heat's there for sure. I think A and especially M and open is very tight, and there's not a lot of open. There's not a terrible amount of open heat. Down here in Atlanta, I will say, I don't know what it is about Atlanta. It's like everybody and their mom shoots carry optics. So if you go look at any random local, it's got to be 60 to 80% of the match was registered to carry optics. Lot of heat, but we do have a couple really good M class open shooters, and KC when he shows up, that's kind of nice when he's shooting open. He's been playing around in limb optics though here recently, but big goal for me is hopefully to make an M jump by the end of next year, or into this year, going into next year. I'm gonna play in carry optics for a little longer, and maybe get on one of these open gun manufacturers wait lists and lead times here soon.
Yeah. Oh, and I think like if you've got the urge for speed, open is like the jam. But it's crazy to see how many people shoot only carry optics. Like that's all they do, and it's honestly it's crazy how you were saying 60 to 80% of the match is all carry optics, which is absurd.
Yeah, it's a lot of carry optics, and for me, going back to me saying I was a hobby jumper, I jump guns a little bit. I think I'm going to stick with Shadow 2 indefinitely in carry optics. I don't see another platform out there that excites me, and I don't plan to shoot limited optics because if I'm going to buy a 2011,
You're gonna buy an open gun.
Yeah, I want to buy an open gun. I do dabble in PCC a little bit, but outside of that, I need a new division to kind of like spice it up a little bit to play around in, and I think open will end up being the ticket. I don't care to buy a single stack gun or revolver or anything, unless they let me put a dot on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just go shoot PCC because don't you have a sweet PCC?
I did bought a Da Vinci,
and then you sold it.
South Carolina. Actually, no, I still have it. I didn't sell it. I almost I've been tempted to sell it only for the reason of I didn't get into PCC Open Nationals. I kind of slept through the registration period and signed up a couple days late, so I'm on the wait list. And unfortunately, that's like the whole reason I bought the Da Vinci. I shot PCC Nationals last year, and I was B in PCC, and I came in fourth at Nationals in PCC, and that was with MPX that I borrowed. That was a Jam-O-Matic. So I'm like, but I buy a gun that actually runs and see where I can place and see if I can put out a stout finish at PCC Nationals in that division. But not getting in kind of was a burner. So if I don't end up getting in, it's only 3 weeks away from us filming this. If I don't end up getting in, I'm actually going to go shoot a 2-gun match out in Arizona for the PCSL 2-gun championship. Get a little bit of an outlet to run that.
Yeah. Well, you get to drive your truck all over. I mean, you do have a pretty sweet truck. I mean, it's like what do you got? Like a hard top tonneau cover with some bars on top and then a fancy tent.
Yeah. So it's got the tonneau cover, so it's all lockable and waterproof down there. And then I have a roof rack or a bed rack with a rooftop tent. The tent's a saving grace. I'm not a ground camper. I wouldn't say I'm a camper, period, but I do like sleeping in my rooftop tent. I had one on my old 4Runner, and after that, it's hard to go back to sleep it on the ground. So as soon as I bought the truck, I think a month later I had the rack and the lift and the tent put on it.
Right now, do you use that? Well, you were telling me you were coming from like California.
Yeah, right before Kentucky, I drove all the way out to San Diego and came back. I think it was 8 days round trip, but on the way back, I hit up Big Bear in California and Flagstaff, Arizona, and did some camping. I think I did maybe like 110 miles off road while I was out there, cumulatively between the two locations, and got to really break in the tent there. I had probably spent like 9 nights in it before that, up in Chattanooga on the river and Tennessee, just up not too far from me. But that was the first like trucks loaded down with camping stuff going across country. That was real fun.
Yeah. Now, when you went off road, did you air down?
I did. I did. So I don't go too aggressive. I'm not running beadlocks. So, just enough to really soften it up. When I was in Flagstaff, they were mostly like Forest Service roads. So, what your average, outdoor range road looks like, maybe a little rougher and, a little bit more brush overhanging. But you're really just airing down for comfort at that point to, soften the ride up. But when I was in Big Bear, I had a couple aggressive trails, so definitely needed to air down for that.
Now, do you regret having the tent then, or do you absolutely love it still?
Absolutely love it. I'm doing a small experiment now. I just popped it off to see what my gas mileage difference is. Because the tent itself, my old one wasn't as heavy, but it was taller. It was if you're looking at a picture, the new ones is completely hard case encapsulated. It has a rack on top of it if you want to throw a mountain bike or kayak, but it weighs over 200 pounds, just the tent. So 200 pounds, and it sticks about 10 inches above my cab because my rack's not a flush mount rack. That's quite a wind brick, and a lot of weight that you're kind of slinging around. So I took it off to see. I just took it off a couple days ago. I've only gone through one tank of gas, and if it's enough of an improvement, I'll put it on and off. If it's not enough, I'll just put it back on and forget about it.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense though, because you don't want to hassle with it unless it's nice savings.
Yeah, I mean, because I can't put it on myself, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, the truck's too tall to go in my garage when the tent's on it. So, a lot of people back their truck into their garage and lift the tent off with like a roof mounted lift inside their garage. I can't fit in my garage. So we pick it up, me and a buddy. So if I ever need to put it back on, it's calling in a favor for somebody to come over and help me put it on. So it's a hassle if it's not actually going to be worth it for mileage. But
Right. I totally get that though. But so we talked earlier, or we mentioned it at least, is that you are a match director for an indoor club. How did you get started being the match director?
I kind of just jumped in. It was a club that I was already shooting as a competitor. The match director at the time that was doing most of the stage design, he wasn't shooting. I think he had some health problems. I never really got to know him very well. I think he had some health problems and wasn't coming to the match, but was designing the stages. And so he wasn't there to get the feedback on his stages. It started out like, hey, let me start designing a couple. Ordered the 3D builder kit. At first it was just pen and paper, and then taking an hour to unbug it once we put it up. And then once I got the 3D builder, it was much better. But when I mentioned starting to do that, they had just made a call of why don't you just come on as staff? And it's a blessing and a curse that I don't necessarily want to be a part of something if it's not up to my standards. I'd rather not do it at all, right? And instead of contributing to something that I don't agree with how it's being ran, and it wasn't that it was being ran improperly. So when I came on as president. I was like, I'll just come on as more of a figurehead, so I can just have a little bit more input. We certainly kind of rule equally amongst there's 5 of us that kind of go together on the club. We kind of do it together, but it's nice, pulling the president card when I want to see something go my way or improvements be made.
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely a nicety when you have a group of people who are kind of in charge, because then it's not all on one person. I recently left being a match director for my local club due to base club the range club politics there. It just was easier to kind of say it's like I'm going to take a break and focus on me for now. But it's definitely nice when you have like a group of people who share the responsibility, but who's everyone's real job is. So then, like, if somebody's out, someone else can fill in when it's not that big of a deal. Unlike the most clubs in the country that are ran by one person, and they don't have help. So if they call in sick, there's no match. Like, that's the hard part.
Yeah, and so I'm thankful to have a great group of guys, that do it along with me, and because it really is, I probably didn't expect it going into it, but it's hard being an MD in any capacity and being competitive in the sport. You know, and by competitive I mean like actually competing, like going to majors, going to nationals, shooting at everybody else's locals and trying to better yourself when you're running a one-man show. So I'm like super grateful. An example would be Carolina Classic. Like I'm gonna miss the local match that weekend. So it'll be on them to make sure everything runs well. It'll be on them to get stage designs, and we're good enough at planning ahead where they know I won't be there.
Right. And that's the nice thing is that everyone knows what's going on. And like I said, nowadays I would hate to be the match director by myself. It just wouldn't work, because and then most of the time is people don't they don't really care that like the shooters don't care that you have no help. And that's the worst part. Is they pay their match fee, show up and then leave. Sometimes most of the time they'll tear down.
Yeah, I've tried to like keep people included as much as possible, and I don't know that it's worked or hasn't worked, but we have a shooter briefing before every one of our matches. Now we're only on we run 4 stages on 2 indoor bays,
Hmm.
the first and third Sunday of every month. So unfortunately, with stage design, as a side note, it's hard because we can't shoot our walls. So everything has to strike the back burb, so it does complicate stage design a little bit to make sure it's still creative. But we do a shooter brief at the beginning of every match, and I try and do my best to kind of let people know what the club's doing, right? Like, hey, why do we have memberships? Why is that an opportunity for you? This is where the club's wanting to go, and hopefully to try and get them a little bit more invested. Where there's still people that are just going to pay their match fee and go home. That's completely fine. The sport's for them too. But there's certainly people that want to be a part of it and want to help out and volunteer and come build walls and donate whatever it may take. But I try and keep them kind of up to date through the shooter meeting to make them feel included.
Right now, for your walls, since it's an indoor range, do you have wall feet and legs, or they just hang off of like the tracks?
So we have target stands that are going to be mounted to the wall ground, but for our walls, they hang from the rafters.
Okay.
So most of the stages, we try and get it where the wall's on the rail, like our graph paper shows you where the target rails are.
Hmm.
Uh, but we can always hang it where we want. You just suspend sticks, and it just makes it a little bit harder to tweak and make sure you're not getting wall shots in there when walls are just kind of floating in between rafters. But um, we do hang from rafters.
Gotcha. And I think that's the better way, because then you can actually like sweep the brass away. I don't know how big of an issue that is with like indoor match. It's already a slick surface. It's concrete, and you don't want to be dying on brass.
Yeah, it's I was actually just at a local that runs here every Monday, and I was talking to the guys that design stages there, and I said, dude, when we build these, we ought to just like leave a hole in the shooting area. As bad as it may look, like if you have like a circular shooting area or a rectangular box that's fully boxed in by fault lines, they're
Hmm.
not terminating into a wall foot. All the brass in there just stays because you can't like sweep it out. So I'm thinking like, what if we just left like a 6-inch gap in all of our like shooting areas? Like, how would shooters care? How would that look for the club? But more importantly, would that make it easier to sweep?
Right. Well, and I've even seen some local matches, like some videos of indoor local matches, that use tape on the floor for their fault lines.
Ooh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll use like tape and stuff, and they'll put stuff down. But and it might honestly be nice if you're able to leave a 6-inch gap like, for sweeping, but then be able to put the tape down, and be like, this is still a fault line, but be still able to functionally sweep out the shooting area.
Yeah, you could always put it where like there's not a reason for a shooter to touch that fault line. That fault line's truly just marking a boundary. Because we actually used to use sandbags
Mm-hmm.
to hold our fault lines down, and we actually completely got away from sandbags if we can help it, and we just tape them down now with duct tape. Eventually the club's probably going to get mad at us and for leaving some duct tape on the floor. But for us, it looks so much cleaner. But people were standing on the sandbags to shoot around walls, and this is the part of me that's if I want to be a part of something, I want to make sure it's ran the right way, and that's not legal, right? Per the definition,
Mm-hmm.
sure, level ones get a lot of leeway per the USPSA rulebook on what's allowed, what's not allowed. Like if you just put a piece of tape on the ground, like technically that's not legal.
Right.
You need at least a 1x2 or a 1x1, or I think it's 1x2 that has to be there. It has to be raised by an inch.
Yeah.
We use 2x2s just because we really like the, nice firm stopping point. It's kind of easy to tell, foot faults, but
Mm-hmm.
we got away from sandbags for that reason.
Right, because shooters are going to use them to their advantage, and they're just going to be like, "Well, it's here. Might as well
Hey,
stand
I've been
on
the
it."
guy. I've been the guy. I'm not mad at it. I just try and prevent it.
Right. Yeah. And that's usually how it goes, right? You want to be like, if you want the shooters not to be able to do something, you absolutely have to make it impossible for them to do.
Exactly. And we always try and think like, hey, how would you game it, and fix how you would game it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, a lot of my buddies that shoot here locally, they're a bunch of bullies, man.
Mm-hmm.
They take any advantage to bully you. And one thing they'll do, they will shoot your stage the slower way to
Mm-hmm.
show you where you messed up. Right? Like
Yeah.
standing in the sandbag. It may have not been efficient, but they will do it
Mm-hmm.
just to bully you into making better stages. And nice thing is it really does push the club forward.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it definitely does. It makes you innovate. You think about your designs more than just like, oh, well, I want you to have to do this. Oh shit, well, I got to figure out how to not do this. Right. And I mean, you probably have, it's more hard to have a lot of options in an indoor match because you are stuck shooting down the down range, but being able to give options of like, oh, I could take it from over here or here. Usually it's kind of shoot left to right or right to left.
Yeah, we try and add as many options with like starting positions that
Mm-hmm.
like, kind of make them in the middle where nobody's gonna just stand exactly in the most efficient spot to begin with. So we'll put it where it kind of forces you to go one way or the next, or make you question it. Unfortunately, it is kind of hard to get targets to where they can be seen multiple times. Because that second or third time that you can see the target, well, now you
Mm-hmm.
can see it. You're going to shoot the wall,
Yep.
right? And because you can't shoot the wall, it's and you can't really shoot the ground. There's no trap to hold the bullet. It's really hard to make sure targets don't get shoot throughs
Mm-hmm.
and have a high quantity of target. That's honestly been my biggest struggle recently. Is I can put together a 20 to 24 round stage, no problem. But without making every single target a double stack, how can I get this to 32?
3 shots per target.
And that only, and I did that. I did that at a stage, but you're not going to put that at every match.
Oh no, you can't. No, it's unless it's like I do always like the let's do a build drill, then reload, do a build drill kind of thing, just for shits and giggles. Because you could easily get, you put a shooting box over at 7 yards at right against the wall, and you're just like, all right, this will be we'll have a fifth stage this time, but it's going to be super
Yeah.
fast and super easy.
Yeah. We Hammer Down, which is a club ran out of sharpshooters here. They're the ones that run it every Monday, and they do 3 bays, 6 stages. But one night they ran 9.
Oof.
The way I think they did it, if I recall, was 3 of the 9 were classifiers. So
Mm-hmm.
they had a perfectly measured out classifier on one half of the bay, but the other half of the bay was like a speed shoot or a short course, not like kind of maybe classifier-ish, but not a real classifier. So
Mm-hmm.
you shot 1, 2, and 3. We flipped to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then each squad would shoot 8, 9, and then they'd move. So you shot them back to back. It was a long night for sure, but
Yeah.
that match I don't think got done until 10 or 10:30. But it was kind of cool to say you shot 9 stages uh, Monday night after work.
Right. Well, and that's the benefit of it's the nice thing about indoor locals too. Like you always get to shoot, but the problem is they're definitely capped at a certain amount of shooters.
Yeah, I mean we my match we cap our squads at 14 max, so we're only allowing 28 people, and that's if we're at like full capacity. Our sweet spots 24, 26,
Mm-hmm.
28, like the classifier match this weekend, we can safely run 28 and really not get out much later because the stages are so much shorter, and there's only 3 targets to score and paste,
Right.
right?
So I'm curious is what classifiers are you running? Because that's a problem with a lot of indoor matches is you really can't do a lot of the good classifiers. You can't shoot trigger freeze or deja vu because you've got all those side shots, those angles.
Right.
So I'm kind of
We
curious what you're going to run.
Yeah, I just posted. I'm pulling them up now. There's an asterisk next to one of them. I'm a little nervous about it being a wall shot, and I have a backup in my pocket if it doesn't work. But we're shooting ×2 CM 9910.
Hmm.
6 targets down range, kind of in a V formation, and 2 shooting boxes. It's shoot like T1 through T3, reload into box 2, and shoot T6 through T4. So we're shooting that one. That's the one that's got an asterisk. I'm thinking that the shot from box A to T1 and the shot from box B to T6 maybe a wall shot, but we'll just have to put it on the ground and see. Then we're shooting 6 and 6 challenge, which is 0901, and then we're shooting irons the Condor.
I want to say it's 1806 or 1804.
1808 is the Condor.
Oh, well, I was close.
Yeah, that one we should be good. We're shooting 0312, which I'm kind of excited about. It's got steel right behind no shoots. And
Oh,
then it's 2 low ports actually. So it's not shot out. It actually is pretty good to class up on, or get decent scores, just because I think it's got the low ports on it. Not many clubs are running it.
yeah. Well, and the nice thing is you only have to be, you're only like for 28 feet, 30 feet wide total, altogether. So it's not terrible.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it fits. The only one that that is going to be weird for us to run is 6 and 6 challenge 0901. It's got a 3-string course of fire. You're shooting at 75 feet, 45 feet, and 30 feet. But we're only shooting on 25-yard bays, which is 75 feet. So string 1, you're actually going to be shooting in the lane.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Well,
So
yeah,
the tables are removable. So tables removable. You're in the lane. I got to see and make sure that that's not going to make it like competitively. I want to make sure it doesn't put somebody at a disadvantage.
right.
Because then I don't want complaints saying because when it's rain everywhere else, you're in open air. So hey, with you shooting in a lane, or are you at a disadvantage, right? Or are you having different visuals? Are you feeling like you can't open up your elbows on your draw, right?
Hmm.
So that one we'll see, but they're all no wall shots, with the exception of maybe ×2.
Right. And then you'll just have to see which one, if you can throw it down or not, which is, the match director always has to play by ear, right?
Exactly, and part of that whole decision process is also what all the other clubs are running.
Hmm.
Within 3 hours, there's plenty of clubs. You can shoot every weekend, but even just within Atlanta, within 1 hour from my house, there's 3 outdoor matches at 3 different outdoor ranges. There are 4 USPSA clubs. 3 of them all frequent. I don't. I'm trying to remember the 4th one. It's just on the other side of town. But you got to be conscious because we share a lot of shooters. So if I run, a certain classifier is, somebody just shot that 3 days ago.
Right.
So we got one guy who I'm not sure where he gets all his free time, but he's got a spreadsheet of every club and what classifiers they ran and what dates they ran it on. He's our source of truth. That I'll send him a text, say, hey, here's our 4 classifiers. Have these been shot recently? Okay, this one has. Cool. I'll swap it before I tell everybody.
Yeah, that guy's definitely retired and has all the free time.
He is not. He is, believe it or not, he is an MD. And I'll share his name because we pick on him for it. Scott Hosworth. I don't know if you've ever met him. He's CRO. He was our match director for Hammerdown. He recently just took over Riverbend.
Oh, okay.
His first Riverbend was supposed to be last month until the giant storm came through and destroyed everything. I mean, like we set up that match a week in advance. So the Saturday before the match, all the walls are out. All of the walls got broken. The range lost power for days. A tree fell on the road. They had to cancel the match. But that was supposed to be his first one as MD there at Riverbend. But yeah, he's a young dude. He's got a wife. He's got 2 children. I think he's got 2 little girls. He's a real estate agent. He's a successful one at that, and he still is got to be the most analytical man I've ever met. In his world, everything is a level 2, and he runs it like it's a level 2. Arbitration period process like a level 2.
Person definitely has a bunch of a bunch of serious. I don't know if I'd ever really. That's interesting. Arbitration at a level 1.
Now we're not paying $100, but
yeah.
As far as like escalating a call, like we have shooters that pull targets at indoor locals. We have shooters that pull targets. We have shooters that arbitrate foot faults. His thing, and a lot of us, we take it serious. We're using him as training, and sometimes I'll take advantage of the rules to my benefit. I won't sit here and say I don't use the rules to get reshoots. If I messed up, but they messed up and I deserve a reshoot. But I've tried to get a little better at that. I was actually just talking to Scott about it the other day, where I had an opportunity to get a reshoot on a stage that I had a mic on, and it would have been using the rule book to get the reshoot because there was I would have called it an unscorable target, but the RO wanted to give me the benefit of the doubt. Hey, we'll just give you the 2 alpha instead of the alpha Charlie. And I'm like, no, technically you can't do that. Like if you can't score it, it's a reshoot. And I would have loved to reshot it and got rid of the mic that I threw up. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, I earned the mic. Like I may have not got that 2 alpha, it could have been alpha Charlie, but that mic a couple targets over, I earned. And if I just keep reshooting it, I'll never get better. So I'm trying to get better myself to make sure I'm just, getting the score I earned instead of bully my way into a different one.
Right, and knowing the rules to get the score you earned, or use the rules to your advantages. With everyone's right, like you were saying about unscorable targets. If they couldn't score it and couldn't figure it out, like it sucks for the guy who's got to make that call. It's like, yeah, you get a reshoot, or like even like, oh, did I interfere with the shoot? Like even if the shooter didn't feel like I interfered with them, like as an RO, even myself, like I interfered with you. Unload choke, like you finish the stage. It's like I interfered with you. I see that you slowed down, so you get a reshoot. And then everyone's like, well, why do they get a reshoot? I'm like, it's like, it's all about, excuse me, it's all about what's right for the shooter.
Yeah. The one I feel the most guilty about is an unpasted target. And in most of the situations, I'm close enough to the shooter where half the time I can actually see the target before they shot it. I noticed it was unpasted, so I know where their hits went, so I can't accurately score that. But I've also been the shooter, and you're gonna slow down, even if it's for a 1/10 of a second. Like the fact that you present on a target that already has holes in it, you go through the gamut of questions of, oh shit, did I shoot this already? Oh no, those aren't pasted. Oh, I still need to shoot that target. No matter how quick you can go through those questions in your head, you go through them. So I still think it hinders the shooter, but if it's scoreable, you got to score it.
Right now, and there's plenty of different ways other than seeing the target. 100% see that where their hits went. What color bullets are you shooting? Like that's my favorite question to ask. Like, what color bullets are you shooting? And if they're blue bullets and it's like grease rings and black grease rings. Like, oh, easy day. Like here's yours. Well, just like I shot like at Kentucky that bear trap. You know how many times like I ask people like, what color's your bullet? Because like they shoot through, like you see them shoot through the wall or something like that. You're like, fuck, what the fuck? Like, and you can just see it dead as right. It's like, well, it's starting to lose blue. Or it's always funny. Like they hit the no shoot on the bear trap. And then they're like, but there's a grease ring of blue on the back target. I'm like, yeah, they're touching. What do you expect?
The blue bullets are easy. You do see a lot of blues. You do see a lot of like, hey, that's not my wall hit. I'm like, sir, that is a blue streak on that wall. And I used to shoot blue bullets when I was on the X5. I shot 125 grain blue bullets. But with the Shadow 2, I swapped over to Brass Monkey. I've been super like glad with his, and he's a great guy. Shipping, like he says he's a GM shipper. He really is a GM shipper. Like you get his stuff so quick. But anyway, I just kind of got tired of the blue wearing off on my fingers after loading packs.
Well, even like reloading. When I loaded hand loaded bullets, I had to wear a glove.
Yeah, it made me look like I just did dirty things with a Smurf, and I just I wasn't about it. Like so, I swapped when I upped my grain. So
yeah, it makes sense though. But Sam, I do have a couple more questions, and then we're gonna wrap the show up. But so who have been some of your biggest mentors in the sport? Not necessarily like supporters and sponsors, but mentors.
I would say there's quite a few. There's going to be a little too many to mention and try and hit on everybody. I'd say probably a couple of people stand out. One is my match director and our range liaison Scott Fan at Johns Creek. He was the one who actually got me into USPSA. I remember meeting him at the gun counter, telling him I was going to buy a different gun for IDPA, and he just said, "Don't." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Just don't shoot IDPA. Buy a new gun. Just don't shoot IDPA." And he got me into USPSA. And I think kind of as a newer shooter in competition, he really helped me at the very beginning get fundamentals down. So I definitely wanted to give him a nice shout out. And then I would just probably give a lot of credit just to the group of guys that I shoot with. Like I said, the heat in Atlanta is pretty good. But there's good heat in him, people to chase. But there's a group of guys that came in around the same time I did that are similar skill level that make it so much fun to go back and forth with. So a lot of local guys in my friend group, and if they ever happen to take the hour to watch this, they'll know who I'm talking about. But definitely a group of guys that push me to be better and give me opportunities to chase and break down stage plans and squad with them at majors.
Absolutely. Now this is the part where I like to pay it forward, at least to the sponsor, your sponsors. So go ahead and give them a good, healthy shout out.
Yeah, sure. The OG and the original is the host club of our or the host range of our club, Johns Creek Indoor Gun Range. They've really treated me right, given me a great facility to practice out of, and supported me in a lot of match endeavors. But then even more recently this year, Ray at Zero Down Sports. I got his jersey on right now. Been super happy to partner with him and wearing the threads. I've worn them proudly. I've been super grateful ever since they came out with the long sleeve sun hoodies. These have been a godsend. Lot Grips, as well as Brian over at Hunters HD Gold have all been great supporters. So
it's awesome. Yeah. And those companies do find to support us, and it's nice to see your gun club be able to help you out, and, you give back, they scratch your back as well. So that's always nice as well. But, Sam, if people want to if they wanted to talk to you on the internet, if it'd be about whatever, where's the best way for them to reach you?
I don't know why they'd want to talk to me, Manny, but if they did, I'm on all the socials, but mostly on Instagram. It's my last name, Knapp.Sam97.
Well, boom. That's where you can find him, guys. So if you really just, you know what, you listen to this episode, just send him a DM. Just be like, maybe I want to talk to you. I don't know. Send him a DM, guys. If you want to talk to Sam, really though, hit him up. Check out his awesome sponsors who help support him. And Sam, brother, thank you for coming on the show. I've had a blast. It's always fun to chit chat with people on the podcast that have actually met at real matches. So you're a real person, not just someone on the internet.
Well, this has been great, man. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. And thank you for again. And to the listeners, get out and do the things. I will see you on the next one.
Yeah.